Okay, I think that's started. Okay. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. As you remember, my name is Sarah, and I'm representing Raven Reynolds as part of her deal with the company.
And I'm Emily, and I'm representing Labrador as similar thing. They're part of the company.
It was great to catch up with you yesterday.
Yeah,
for
it was
coffee.
really great. That place has really good coffee.
It really does. Yeah, it's a nice city we're in right now.
It really is. Yeah,
we're both visiting. So
yeah, I'm glad we got to meet at this hotel conference room. I think it's perfect.
Definitely.
Yeah, they have pretty good coffee here too. If you want to
grab
coffee
really? I haven't tried it. Yes, that sounds great. Okay. Well, so how's your stay been so far?
It's been good. Yeah, I did a bit of sightseeing yesterday.
Yeah, I did too. It was really nice. The weather has been great.
Yeah, it's been really nice. Yeah, definitely enjoy it. I think I got a bit of a sunburn today.
Oh, really?
Well, yesterday.
It's warm.
Yeah. From yesterday. Yeah.
It's tough coming from Montreal, where we're always cold all the time.
It's so true.
Yeah. So it was nice that we were able to meet in this location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. How's your business and everything going?
Oh, it's been pretty good. As I told you, I just started my position at this new firm, and so it's been exciting. It's been definitely challenging and different, but I've enjoyed my time there.
That's good.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, it's been good. No complaints. Yeah, learning new things every day, so that's always good, and meeting different people. So
is this your first time representing Mr. Statler?
No, this would be my second time representing them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have a bit of a history.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, this is my first time representing Raven, so it's been really cool working with her.
Awesome.
Since I'm new in entertainment law, but
how long have you been working in law for?
Just for a few years. I'm pretty new to the industry actually, but I do have my experience and background in law overall. But entertainment law is a new field for me. But that's why I'm so excited to be able to represent Raven. I think it'll be pretty exciting and good. And
awesome.
Hopefully we can hear what Mr. Statler has on his agenda, and we can work out a good deal.
Exactly. Sounds good. That's what I'm here to do. So hopefully, we could do that and it could all work out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So should we start, I guess, discussing what we have on the table?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So could you tell me a little bit more about Mr. Statler's interests? Obviously you're representing him, and by default you're kind of representing Labrador.
Yeah.
So, we have, as far as I understand, we have this issue on the table of how to manage Mr. Statler's and Ms. Reynolds' relationship going forward.
Exactly.
Both in business, but it seems like there's some personal interests as well on the table.
A little bit. I think, over time, I guess just through the different problems occurring throughout, I think the last maybe 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
I think at first it was mainly business, but then it kind of turned maybe a little personal, and then here we are today.
Yeah,
kind
absolutely.
Of trying to discuss this and bring them back to where they were when they initially started working together.
Yeah, exactly, because I think they had a pretty good relationship in the beginning, and both companies. Well, Camellia was obviously absorbed by Labrador, and it seemed like they were doing very well overall.
Yeah.
So that was really positive. So, what would you say Mr. Statler's position would be in regards to the issues that are happening right now?
I think his position is that he would just want both parties to get back to being on the same page.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's what it would be.
I would say Ms. Reynolds would really like that as well. I mean, obviously there need to be some caveats to the way things have been going.
Exactly.
But I think that the goal would be to restore the good working relationship they had when they first started.
And kind of get their both ideologies kind of more aligned.
Yeah.
In order so that they could work together moving forward and
exactly
work for the company.
Exactly. Now, what would you say those ideologies are for Mr. Statler?
I'd say for Mr. Statler, it's more business, more making the smart decisions financially in order to move forward with the company and just not be losing profits on let's say movies and stuff that are unpredictable. like not putting kind of all your eggs in one basket and like hoping that it works out in the end. And
Absolutely. Well,
what about you? What would you say?
Yeah. I mean,
her ideology is?
I would probably say that Ms. Reynolds agrees. She would love to get back on the same page with Mr. Statler. I think that her main concern is that her creative freedom is really being restricted, and that perhaps he doesn't have the best sense of what it takes to really make a profitable and successful movie in this industry. Obviously one of the main concerns has been the budget for these movies, and I think that, especially with this Privileges movie that they're discussing now, like that's probably the most heated topic that they're, in up in arms about. And but Miss Reynolds really wants to stress that in this industry, to make such a profitable film and a successful film, it does take some money, to be flexible and creative that way. But obviously, she's willing to make some compromises if it means that they can come back to a good working relationship.
Yeah, and Mr. Statler, he gets that and he understands that, but at the same time, when you have 3-4 movies in a row that don't really meet up to their expectations and kind of put the company in the red because of that, it does cause some concern for him and the future of the company. So that's where yes, that's true. You do have to be creative and you need to invest money in order to have a successful movie, but at the same time you have to make the rational decision and moving forward, you have to kind of do the smart thing as well,
right,
for the sake of the company.
Which movie do you think that Mr. Statler has the most concern with, though? Because if it's Privileges, I mean, obviously you can never know with certainty how a movie is going to perform in the box office.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
What you can get are reviews and the critics' opinions, and those generally help bolster those box office returns. And as far as we have understood, Privileges has gotten extremely great reviews. The producer, the director of this movie, had produced a previous movie that did extremely well, and critics have predicted that this Privileges movie is going to be even better than the last one. And when Miss Reynolds went ahead and bought the movie out of her own pocket for $15 million, all of the other critics and other, I guess, producers were all congratulating her on this and saying it was going to be such a great win and such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that given the track record where Miss Reynolds' judgment was on par and was correct with the movie, I believe it was called, what was the movie that, there was a movie recently that, The Mark of the Panther.
Oh, is that the one that they didn't end up investing in?
Yeah, that was the one thing. Exactly. And what happened is then they forfeited what would have been almost $1 billion in investment. And I know that's obviously in hindsight that we can look at it that way, but that should say, that should speak to Miss Reynolds' judgment when it comes to these types of decisions.
But at the same time, those are the good opportunities that perhaps were missed, or the good investments. But there have also been some pretty bad ones as well, Perils of Argentina. The budget went up. To $100 million, so there's a lot more money than anticipated, and then in the end it got mixed reviews and a flat box office at only $78 million. So yes, there have been some really good ones. However, that one, as well as a few other ones I could probably pull up here, just have not done well, and it just.
Yeah. But Miss Reynolds, I should say, in regards to that movie, Miss Reynolds has agreed that having those escalating budgets where there's what I'm saying, where there's no stopping point almost, is not good. And she's agreed to scale back on her budgets that way for sure, because she realizes that that was obviously a mistake in how that was handled. So
I think just all the the proof that we brought up right now, so from on your side and then on my side as well, just shows that there does need to be some kind of new system in place in order to kind of balance what Reynolds thinks as well as what Statler thinks.
Definitely, I agree.
Bring them more towards the where they both want to
Right. Absolutely.
compromise.
I mean, the way I look at it, there are a couple of options that can happen here
Mm-hmm.
in regards to their relationship. The most preferable for us would be for them to continue their working relationship and maybe make some minor improvements to make sure that both of their needs are satisfied. But obviously, what would be less preferable would be, Ms. Reynolds could quit, or she could obviously get fired, which is out of both of our realms right here. But those are kind of the different options that I see happening. But obviously, her staying at Labrador and making this relationship with Mr. Statler work is most preferable for us.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the case for you as well.
Yeah, that definitely is the case for us as well. We think that Ms. Reynolds brings a lot to the table, and she's very creative and has a lot of great ideas. And at the same time, we're able to provide her with some of the financial capital she needs in order to move forward with her ideas. So yeah, it's definitely keeping her is definitely what we would prefer as well. So if we could work to improving, coming up with a solution.
Okay, that
for their
sounds good to
relationship,
me.
then
Yeah, that seems like
awesome.
that's our mutual interest. So I
Yeah.
think maybe if we could start there, that sounds good, and
Mhm.
hopefully
Yeah,
we
that
can
does
find
sound
a
good.
solution
Yeah.
within that option. So obviously, I think one of the biggest aspects on the table right now is the release of the Privileges movie
Mm-hmm.
and how it will be distributed and handled. As far as we understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Statler does not want to distribute this movie. He has said that he does not want to. And so Miss Reynolds was approached by Fifth Dimension, another
Mhm.
production company, to co-release the movie with her.
Okay.
Obviously, I think, and so does Miss Reynolds, that it would be in both of our best interests, both of our parties' best interests, to release it together because it distributes the risk when you're working with a different company, Fifth Dimension.
Okay.
You can co-release it together, so
Yeah.
the risk is distributed. And I think that then, if it does turn out to be such a hit and have such amazing returns, like the Mark of the Panther, did in hindsight, I think that would be really successful for us.
Yeah.
Is that something that Mr. Statler would consider?
I just have a quick question before going into that.
Sure.
So she, from what I read or what I understand, she put in $15 million of her own money.
Yes.
And so total, it was $30 million. So where did she get that other $15 million from?
No, what it actually was $30 million was what it was going for,
Okay.
but Ms. Reynolds was able to successfully negotiate a deal where she only spent $15 million.
Okay.
So, but she paid out of her own pocket. Yeah. So she just paid $15 million on her own
Okay.
because Mr. Statler didn't authorize the purchase.
Right.
So that was what happened. But she was able to negotiate a deal for $15 million. Yeah. So that was the total purchasing price. And she did plan to sell it back to Camellia,
Mm-hmm.
but Mr. Statler didn't want anything to do with the movie, so that was kind of where that ended up happening.
Okay. So for Mr. Statler, he is interested in working out a deal for the Privileges movie. However, first he wants to make sure that they're on the same page
Okay.
with their relationship for the future. So maybe we could discuss other things first and then get back to Privileges depending on
Sure.
what we work out.
Absolutely, that sounds good. What did you have in mind to discuss first?
We could discuss, there are a few things on the table, like Camellia's budget for, the various projects
Mhm.
she has. And then also, maybe we could change if she does have a better budget, then maybe we could change the amount, how there's that $25 million where she does
Yeah.
have to go to Mr. Statler to discuss if it's possible. That could be changed depending on changes in the budget. And then also just bettering their relationship so that he like she doesn't go to the media and like says negative things about Mr. Statler in Labrador and everything, because that just causes bad publicity for him, and in the end it's also, she's part of the company as well, so overall it's just not beneficial. So those are a few of the things.
I'd be that's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that overall it would definitely benefit both of us to agree to just have good PR overall for both sides. So that's something that we can agree on. I mean, assuming that the rest of this negotiation goes well. But obviously, I mean, it's in both of their interests and in the company's interests overall if we are going to talk about her staying and working, continuing to work at Labrador under Mr. Statler.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that both sides maintaining good public relations with each other, that's something that we can agree on.
Yeah. So this includes, like, not going to the media and saying negative things about the other party or their company, and also if something negative is being said about, say, Mr. Statler to Miss Reynolds, then like, she kind of like backs him up and supports him rather than just standing there, bless you, and not saying anything. So just like being supportive of one another and positive about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can definitely agree to either neutral or like no PR, like no negative PR. In terms of supporting Mr. Statler, I think that would have to come with the rest of the agreements that we work out. But we can definitely agree to like at least neutral or not, at least not negative PR on either side. So I think that's something we can definitely agree to. In regards to the budget, obviously it would be ideal for us to have that increased. Is there a number that Mr. Statler was thinking in terms to increase it by?
I think he would, if we could focus on a smaller number of movies and just being smart financially about those movies and just being more focused, he would bring it up to $30 million, so an extra 5.
Okay. With the condition that he has to approve anything above
30. Yeah.
Okay. That's still pretty low for us. We had another idea though, and I don't know if you're the right person to talk to about this.
Okay.
Miss Reynolds would be willing to keep the $25 million,
base.
Yeah, the base part. But instead of getting it approved by Mr. Statler, maybe getting it approved with a majority vote from the board of directors or some other major group. And that way it would maintain Mr. Statler and Miss Reynolds' relationship, because it doesn't seem as much like he's stomping down on any of her ideas. Instead, it would be a joint idea or joint decision by the board, who are all obviously very invested in the company.
Yeah.
And we would keep it at $25 million, and so she would still have her autonomy under 25, but when it gets to the 25 mark, the board can approve with a majority vote. That way, it just keeps Miss Reynolds and Mr. Statler's relationship out of it.
And it keeps like all their personal history and
exactly gripes with each other. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and just so we're clear, the board of directors would be the board of directors of both.
Yeah,
like the merged companies.
Yeah, because technically, I believe that Camellia is a subsidiary of Labrador, so it's really Labrador's board. Exactly. Which I'm assuming, I don't have that information, but I'm assuming the board is comprised of some members of Camellia as well, just as normal standard practices. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that seem like something we could do?
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Okay, because that way it keeps them from kind of having their personal issues with each other.
And it still keeps like the main focal point of the company, like as the priority.
Okay. So right now we've agreed to no negative PR, and then the board can make the decisions above 25 million. Okay, I think that's really good. So
that is good.
If we've worked that out, is there anything else that you think we need to cover before we discuss privileges? Sure, no worries.
going through like everything to make sure.
Absolutely. I think that's something that's important for us is Mr. Statler sort of respecting Miss Reynolds' business judgment, given her really successful track record in the field.
Yeah.
I think that will also be mitigated by the board being able to approve because, again, it's just more people to decide instead of just one.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I
think that's,
gets rid of like any bias that could be there. And
exactly, yeah. Or any prior bias, too,
Exactly.
based on like
Yeah.
other. I think that works.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, I think that's good. Like, so if we have neutral / good PR, and then also going to the board of directors for getting a majority vote if anything is over the $25 million.
Yep.
I think that covers most bases or all bases on my end. Is that
Okay? Yeah, it's pretty much us as well. I mean, the only other thing to talk about, I guess, would be privileges and how to move forward with that movie.
Yeah. So now that we've agreed on this, Mr. Statler, like, he is interested in working towards discussing options for privileges. So,
Okay.
So yeah, let me just see.
Yeah. Does he have anything in particular regarding the movie that we should discuss?
I think it was mainly about was it distribution?
Yeah, I think distribution.
Yeah, so, yeah, basically his reasoning for not releasing privileges was mainly a business decision because of kind of the conflicts in their relationship. So he really did want to work on these issues, and then if that works out, then they could focus on privileges. So.
Okay.
So now that that's done, what is it? Distribution?
Yeah, it's what it is basically that Miss Reynolds has purchased this movie for $15 million, and she was going to sell it to Camellia so that they can distribute it.
Okay.
It's up to Mr. Statler then to decide if he's okay with Labrador just producing the entire movie themselves and distributing it themselves, or if they want to partner with Fifth Dimension Productions.
Okay. Yeah.
Either way would be fine with Miss Reynolds, frankly. Obviously, if they keep it in-house, there's more profit for the company, and both parties can, be more successful. In the very, very, rare event that it doesn't do well,
yeah.
By partnering with Fifth Dimension, it's a way to basically distribute the risk.
Right.
So we don't think that's going to happen. Miss Reynolds is very, very, very confident in her judgment about this movie.
And we do trust her judgment. Overall, it's been good. So
we appreciate that, definitely. She definitely appreciates that then. What do you think in regards to either keeping everything in-house or partnering with Fifth Dimension?
I think now that the new ground rules are in place, Mr. Statler, he would be okay with keeping it in-house, and that way, if it is successful, then
profits only benefit the
exactly.
company.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So then, basically, we will Miss Reynolds will sell it back to Camellia, and then so Camellia will buy it from her. So now she no longer is maintaining that $15 million risk on her own. The company is buying it from her,
right,
and will produce it and distribute it all on its own. And Mr. Statler will cooperate with that. We just want to make sure, because obviously that's a decision that, I mean, it was under $15 million, right? So she kind of has that discretion. Or it was under $25 million.
Yeah.
So she has that discretion. But we just want to make sure that Mr. Statler won't try to, block any progress or anything,
No, now that he's committed to this and he agrees with it, he'll definitely help out and cooperate with Miss Reynolds.
Perfect. else to discuss?
Just gonna double check something quickly.
Yeah, I don't think that I have too much more. And that way, I think that there won't be any issues with non-compete clauses or anything like that if they just keep it all in house. I think if Mr. Statler is willing to agree to let the production happen. I mean, it's under $25 million, and I think that it would be a really huge success for both Labrador and Miss Reynolds who gets to have this film.
Could be really beneficial.
Yeah.
So one other thing I did want to discuss, but it's kind of like apart from the issues already established, is one thing that Mr. Statler does want to focus on is large-scale DVD promotion and sales in the future. So he has gone to Miss Reynolds about this, and she's it's not really in line with her creative and making movies and stuff, but it is something that he thinks would be very smart for the company business-wise. So he's wondering if she could be more involved and more interested in working on this idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there anything specifically that?
Nothing specifically, but just more showing interest in it and maybe giving ideas for it, and maybe that could be something that could be done with Privilege in the future as well. So just kind of being more aware of his business sense of the business, and this is kind of so aligning both their interests. She's very creative, he's more business and does what's smart for the organization. So just being more aware of that and supporting.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that her main concern was that the DVD industry is sort of a dying industry, but given the flexibility that Mr. Statler has shown, and as long as he's supportive with the rest of her endeavors, I think the fact that we're able to get the board to vote is really something that solves a lot of our problems.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something, she would be okay with working on a little bit more. I mean, it's definitely not her area of expertise or interest, but I think that they could work together, especially with their films that she's produced herself, and she has some sort of tie to them. I think that she'd be willing to look into DVDs.
That's good, because it's obviously it's not something that's going to bring them awards and recognition and everything, but it will be something that will definitely bring them profits. So.
Yeah, it's a source of income, and she recognizes that, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that works for us,
Okay,
that's good for us.
So just to summarize.
Yeah.
So overall, by coming up with these points, we're sort of aligning both their goals and strategies. So she's a lot more creative, he's more business-oriented and profit-focused. So we have neutral PR / good PR. Then also, if something goes over the $25 million baseline, then they'll go to the board of directors, share their idea, and if they get a majority vote, they can move forward with it. Also, with regards to Privilege, it'll be kept in-house, and Mr. Statler will cooperate moving forward. And then also, Ms. Reynolds will show support for profit and business decisions, such as the DVD, sales of the DVD.
Yeah, I think that as long as they don't directly hinder her initiatives, then she's definitely open to supporting them. Yeah, that sounds good to us. And especially if the DVDs have to do with something that she's produced. She'd be much more inclined to help with that aspect of it.
Okay. Perfect.
Great.
All right, so I'll go back to my client with that.
I'll go back to Ms. Reynolds with this too. I think she'll be really happy to know that their relationship can be improved just by changing this one.
I agree.
Voting procedure, so I think it should be good.
And maybe they should meet up for coffee, just like we've been.
I think that seemed to help.
Yeah.
It was nice to work with you,
It
Emily.
was very nice to work with you too,
Thank
Sarah.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yay!
Yay! Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
To turn this off.
Stop.